Art was a vital element in Roman society and can reveal much about its values and traditions. Specifically, Pompeii is an active archaeological site, meaning that new discoveries continue to be found. Paintings were used as the main method by which stories were told. Here are some examples of art in Pompeii and how they connected in terms of historical significance. To start off, we have the Cave Canem, which is Latin for "Beware the dog." This painting was basically a warning sign indicating that a dangerous dog is within, and if you dare step any further than this vestibulum, then this dog will attack. The sign is portrayed to be a ferocious dog with baring teeth, chained up with a red collar. Sometimes the signs would be placed even if there was no dog. People were simply just trying to discourage burglary or intruders of any kind. This sign basically acted as an alarm system does for us today. An example of the Cave Canem in Pompeii was at the ancient Roman building called the House of the Tragic Poet.
The Woman of Pompeii painting was discovered in 1760 and is one of the most famous and beloved paintings, which is also called Sappho. It portrays a high society Pompeian woman richly dressed in gold-threaded hair and large gold earrings. She is holding a stylus to her mouth and holding wax tablets, accounting documents. The first painting is a picture of Agamemnon and Achilles fighting. The conflict between Agamemnon and Achilles occurs over a woman named Brias. Both Agamemnon and Achilles are awarded a woman as a trophy of war. But when Agamemnon is forced to release his captive, he decides he's entitled to Achilles' captive Brias. Achilles is offended by Agamemnon's decision, and Achilles then decides to refrain from fighting for Agamemnon, which means that the Greeks will continue fighting without their greatest warrior. Not only does Achilles decide to sit out of the war, which immediately puts the Greek troops at risk, but he also prays that a disaster will strike them. Achilles wanted to prove that the Greek could not win the war without him.
I will be talking about the Mosaic of Marine Life. The Mosaic of Marine Life was a piece of art found inside of a house in Pompeii, Italy. The house it was found in is called the House of Dancing Faun. This was one of the largest and most impressive private residences in Pompeii, Italy at the time. Although it is unclear when the mosaic itself was made, the house that it was found in dates back to the 2nd century BC, during the Samnite period. With that being said, some believe that the mosaic was made around the same time, although it is still very unclear when. If you look at the mosaic itself, you notice that it is full of fish. It has more fish than any other sea creature. This is because when it was made, fish were very popular, and the reason fish were so popular is because of the proximity of the sea. There are other sea creatures along with the fish in the mosaic, and this is because of the celebration of the sea. If you were to ever want to see the mosaic now, you would have to go to the National Archaeological Museum.
So Alexander the Great's mosaic that was actually originally in the House of the Faun in Pompeii is now in the House of the Faun again. It is one of the most iconic images of the great Macedonian leader. The mosaic depicts a confrontation between Alexander and the Persian king Darius in the 4th century BC. Since 1843, the mosaic hung on the wall of the National Archaeological Museum in Naples, safe from the feet of Pompeii's 2 million plus yearly visitors, which was actually really interesting to me because most mosaics you would actually think are on the wall as like portraits and things like that would hang, like we think of art as wall hangings and things like that. But no, most people in ancient Greece and ancient Rome would actually put them on the floor and use them as like great and interesting like flooring. Like, they'd walk in and it'd be this big opulent flooring, almost like the Sistine Chapel is an amazing ceiling to look at. So this mosaic was actually put on the floor. It is a gigantic mosaic. It's actually 9 by 18 feet wide, which is insane to me. It is super, super duper long. There's actually been so much turmoil over how much this, like, what battle this predicts. It actually predicts the Battle of Gaugamela, where he defeated Darius and he was pushed into the hills and never returned. There's a lot of evidence, artistic evidence, in which Alexander lost his helmet. There is a tree in the background, which you can't see in this small clip, but if you look at the full one, you actually can. Sadly, I couldn't find much on the fighting cocks, but it is interesting to look at and think about how the artist would have interpreted that as something in Pompeii. Maybe there were just cocks in the street and he was like, I really wanted to paint this. Or maybe it was just something interesting he saw. But that's what I found on Alexander the Great, and I thought it was really interesting.